Hello, everyone, and welcome to our community chat for the United Way of Greater Lorain County. My name is Dr. Chris Babbage. I'm a family medicine physician at the Cleveland Clinic in Lorain for the past 10 years, and I've had the opportunity to be the United Way of Greater Lorain County Campaign Cabinet Chair for 2019 and 2020. This has given me a great opportunity to interact with Ryan. And I wanted to really thank you all for joining us for this first virtual United Way community chat. Today, our goal is to introduce the new president and CEO of United Way of Greater Lorain County, who has a personal connection to the work of United Way. We'll talk a little bit more about the unique collaborative approach United Way has taken here in the county and to really lead our efforts. And how this approach, was built to help the families who are facing unexpected financial crises as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're currently going through. So to introduce Ryan to those of you who do not know him yet, Ryan took on the role of president and CEO in December of last year and has been working with United Way of Greater Lorain County since 2011. He started there as a development specialist. 3 years later, he was promoted to the marketing and engagement director and really led the communication and donor engagement efforts as United Way transitioned to the community collaborative model of community impact. So Ryan, very excited to be talking to you today. So to get started, so when it was announced that you were selected to take over as president and CEO at United Way, it was mentioned that, you had a very, cared very deeply about the mission and how it connected to you personally in your personal life. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Thanks, Chris. I think it starts with just the fact that I'm a local guy. I grew up here in Lorain County. I was born and raised in Oberlin, and actually the fifth generation of my family to be from Oberlin. And I went to Lorain County Community College. So just, a local Lorain County guy. But I think even more so than that, just my experiences growing up. And it turns out a lot of the challenges that I've had in life are very closely aligned with the work that we do here at United Way of Greater Lorain County. And largely I grew up in a single family home with a single mom. And all the way back to my pre-K, I was actually on a scholarship at Oberlin Early Childhood Center, which at the time was a United Way program. And that kind of comes full circle now that I do this work. And, growing up in a single family home and largely in poverty, kind of knew what it was like to struggle a bit and need some help along the way. And I think like a lot of young kids, I kind of started to go astray a bit in middle school and around those years and adolescence, and was really fortunate to have positive people and role models and strong people in my life who could point me in the right direction. And I also remember back to a time when my mom was injured and ended up having some health problems and missed some work. And that kind of spiraled where she lost, fell behind and ended up actually losing our house to foreclosure. And I even remember then thinking that it just wasn't fair that a person who worked so hard for so long, when, one thing went wrong, that she lost the house that she had worked so hard for. And again, that's connected to the work that we do at United Way. And I think also I rode the bus from Oberlin to get to Lorain County Community College. That's how I went to school. And the LCT route from Oberlin to the college doesn't run anymore. And so a person in my situation doesn't have that same opportunity. And so again, all of these things are directly related to the mission and to the target outcomes of United Way. And it's just a coincidence, but you can see why when I got here, I became so passionate and the work is literally reliving my life. And every day when I go do this work, I retrace those steps and am reminded of that upbringing. So yeah, I'm really passionate about it and it's special to me.
That's a really great story, and it's you bring a lot of that lived experience to your work and what you're doing every day for the families of Lorain County to help them in the ways that you are impacted as well. So, speaking about those families, currently a lot of them are facing the same challenges that you and your mom really overcome and struggled with over the years. How does a family like that really get connected to the services and resources that the United Way has to offer?
Yeah, the gateway to the work that we do is our 211 first call for help. So, for those who don't know, 211 is a 24-hour information and referral hotline. There's a telephone number and a website that you can access, and it connects people in need to the resources that are available. And the great thing is it's a really robust database. It isn't only United Way services, it's services from all of the other great agencies, whether they're a United Way partner or not, that are included in this. And so number one, that's of the utmost importance to us to connect people to resources. And there's such a disparity in our community, largely around access. And for us, it's all about creating equal access and making sure everybody can get to the resources they need. And the second part of 211 that's so important to us is we're able to track the data. And so we can see in real time what specific problems people are having. What are they calling and asking for? And even deeper than that, we can see what are they calling and asking for that there isn't anything available. And so then that information, those unmet needs, help inform our work as we move forward to try to fill in those gaps.
So that's really great. I mean, in terms of having 211 as a resource, as well as being able to really track the needs of the community through that. You know, certainly, we all are in this together in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how this pandemic has affected, the families that United Way serves, and really how has United Way been able to respond, to help those families as well as the community respond to the COVID-19 pandemic as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mentioned the disparities in our community, and the target, the focus of United Way here locally is on working families who are living in poverty. So, folks who have jobs but are living paycheck to paycheck, and remembering back to that story about my mom and thinking how it was unfair. The way that the system is set up is oftentimes people who work but are struggling still, they don't qualify for certain types of assistance. And so, it builds in the benefit cliff where you make just enough money to lose your other benefits. And so you actually come out worse. And it actually creates an incentive to not work. You're better off collecting different types of assistance than working. And so we really wanted to redesign that and help the people who are working hard and help them get over the hump so that they don't need any supplemental assistance. And so I bring all of that up to say, think about COVID-19 and the types of jobs and that are available and what, the types of jobs that are not working right now. And so the folks that we serve on a regular basis are largely being affected and displaced by COVID-19. And the disparities in educational attainment in our community and health outcomes and earned income, it's largely a lack of access to resources. And that's people who aren't making a lot of money. It's people of color in our community. And so we're seeing that, and it's not anything new. It's actually just magnifying those disparities. And so what we're seeing a lot of, or what we're trying to do as we see a lot of it, is kind of balance the supplemental assistance that have come through the pipeline from federal stimulus checks and other special CARES acts, but also the special freezes that have been put in place. The tax deadline got pushed back, and a freeze on utility shutoffs and on evictions. And so how do we just kind of balance out what is available in our normal system with what's been created with these new systems and help people navigate that, but also have them understand what is, legal in terms of are folks able to evict them or shut off, their utilities. And so we really took a kind of a three-pronged approach through this process. And the first thing that we really did from a United Way perspective, just referencing back to 211, we wanted to be supportive and just, support other agencies that were on the front lines and doing tremendous work and make sure that 211 was up to date. And that was a really hard, full-time job because things were changing so much and things were closing and there were new laws being passed. So we were working to make sure that we could always connect folks to accurate, up-to-date source material. And that was both for health, how to stay healthy and what were the, public health recommended things to do, but also for resources, where to go to get help on unemployment, et cetera. The second thing that we were a part of that I'm really, really proud of was that we were able to join together with other funders locally to create a COVID-19 response fund. We've been able to raise close to $250,000 and allocate out over $200,000, both in the immediate time frame. I mean, we were raising money and granting out dollars in maybe even late April, and that's continued through into the summer now. And that's housed at the Community Foundation of Lorain County and many, many other tremendous partners. And that came together really quickly. And so again, I'm really proud of that. And then the third thing that we did was kind of leverage the work that we do every day. We talked just a little bit about our collaborative approach, but we have 10 community collaboratives around Lorain County, and we work to bring organizations together to try to solve problems that we can't do on our own. And one of those collaboratives is UCAN, the United Community Assistance Network. And every day of the year, this group works to help working families get through a crisis situation. And for many people, a crisis would be just like my mom. They lose some income, they have some unexpected medical expenses, and things start to spiral out of control. And prior to UCAN, there wasn't assistance available for that working population. And so we've jumped in to meet that unfilled need by tracking the data in 211, like I mentioned. And a person in my mom's situation now wouldn't lose her home. She'd be able to access resources through UCAN and have the bills taken care of. So because we have that system already in place, we've designed that over the last 6 years, we're able to leverage that now to meet COVID-19 needs as well. What we're anticipating is, as I mentioned, as those supplemental resources have come and are starting to go, and as the freezes are being lifted, the types of needs that we typically see might be 1 or 2 months and might, on average equal about $600 to really take care of an entire family's problems and get them back on their feet. We're anticipating the amount of requests that actually come to us and the dollar amount of those requests, both to increase significantly here starting now and running probably even into the fall. And so that's what we're geared up to take care of through UCAN.
Fantastic. So certainly, United Way, leans on donors to help to, participate in, this work by contributing. So, how would you tell those listening how to really engage, with United Way in helping, this work to go forward? Really, how can individuals help in this space?
Yeah, there's kind of the motto of United Way across the country is give, advocate, volunteer. And I think typically when people hear United Way, they probably think more of give, just based on our history, and we really existed for many years as a fundraiser. But we, and of course, donations are important and are a part of the process, and we can't do all the great work without the support of our donors. I think really the hands-on approach of volunteering and advocating are two really key points for us. Volunteering, things just look different now, because of COVID-19. But we do have a volunteer program that's pretty robust, and one of the signature programs of that is called Collect, Sort, Deliver. And so folks can, it's a pretty descriptive, pretty easy to understand. Folks can collect items. They can actually be the lead of a collection at their, business or where they live in their neighborhood, at their place of worship, wherever that might be. And then the second part of that is delivering them to United Way, and we sort those items, and we put together an inventory for our community partners to be able to tap into. And then the third part of that is actually delivering them out to the community partners. And the 4 items that we focus on are really gap fillers for the work that we do. And it's professional or work clothing, tampons and pads, books, and school supplies. So from a volunteer perspective, that would be one way to get involved. We also are able to put together customizable projects for corporate or workplace partners as well. And then on the advocacy side, kind of always going back to those disparities and how can we use our voice and the voice of our partners and the community to highlight and do some advocacy work. Transportation is key and really important to us. We're really proud to have the mobility management program housed at United Way. And so working through a coordinated transportation plan to connect resources that are available with maybe some opportunities through grants, and also with active transportation to make sure folks can get around. So that's one advocacy opportunity for us. We're also committed to universal pre-K. That's something that we need to be doing more advocacy for, and then Medicaid extension as well. So those are kind of the 3 key advocacy opportunities that we have for folks to get behind.
Great. And going back to the response to, the pandemic, I think it's, amazing to hear that United Way was part of, the response fund for COVID-19 and really was able to raise, a substantial amount of money, of which a large proportion of that has now gone back into our community to support, the families here. So certainly I just wanted to call out that the COVID-19 response fund certainly is still open and available for contributions at www.peoplewhocare.org. Also, you can contribute to United Way and the UCAN network at uwloraincounty.org/UCAN. And Ryan, I was wondering if you could kind of comment on, with those groups, I mean, how can someone make, an impact or a measurable difference through contributing there? What would it take?
Yeah, one of the things that I have always loved about United Way is that, there's no special buy-in amount. You don't have to come in with a $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million gift. Of course, we'd be ecstatic with those.
Sure.
I actually just told the story earlier today, and I keep referencing my mom, but one of the first introductions to United Way I actually had was just talking to my mom about her donation, and it was $1 per paycheck. And so she was given, I think, $52 a year to United Way with just $1 a week coming out of her payroll deduction. And so that's what I've always appreciated about United Way, that everybody can give in a way that means something to them, and it all adds up, and it all really makes a difference. And it's kind of the community leading and giving back to the community. I mentioned UCAN. I said on average about $600 is what it takes to take care of a family. And talking through a little bit what that means, before we created this environment, this network, like I said, largely there wasn't even any assistance available for people who were working. But if there was, it came in small chunks because all of the great partners that we have their own revenue streams. A lot of them are grant funded, and they have some restrictions on them. And so a person who needed $600 to catch up on, rent might end up going to 5 or 6 different places trying to piece that all together. And it was a really inconvenient situation. And think of being in a situation where you have to go ask somebody for help, maybe for the first time ever in your life. And you're literally telling your most embarrassing moment, the worst moment of your life, to the person, a stranger, at this agency. And they're able to help you a little bit, and you appreciate that. But now you have to go tell somebody else the same story, and you have to find transportation to get there, and you have to take different forms of ID, and you have to fill out the paperwork all over again. And so it's just an environment that wasn't designed, with the client in mind. And so we've redesigned that, and it's a one-stop shop. You tell the story once, that becomes your case manager. They stick with you through the process. There's one intake form. It's all the same ID. It's all of that. And they can actually access different revenue streams, including the central United Way Fund, from that one place. And so that $600 is life-changing to that family, but also it's a great investment, because if we were waiting and being more reactive, and that person ends up losing their home and maybe even becoming homeless, it starts to cost tens of thousands of dollars to help that person or that family. And then there's other repercussions, right? You might change school districts for the kids, and that causes ripple effects. There's all sorts of other things that go along with that spiral. Sure. So whatever people are able to give, what is comfortable to them, what's significant to them, it adds up, and it makes a real tangible difference.
Great. No, thank you for that explanation. I think, it's good to hear that anything, certainly helps and can make an impact. So you talked earlier about some of the community collaboratives that the United Way is engaged with and leading. So you were certainly a big part in the change United Way of Greater Lorain County went through in terms of going to this collaborative model, doing that while you were the marketing and engagement director. This move really changed from, funding of individual programs to really putting United Way in the space of leading these agencies to work together, with one plan, to improve the lives of families in Lorain County. So could you talk a little bit about, why United Way, made this change and how that has been impactful?
Yeah, when we start to talk about these really deep-rooted, complex social problems that are in our community and communities across the country, that key word is complex. And if any one entity had control or the ability to fix it or make it better, these problems would have been fixed a long time ago. And it's not for lack of effort or lack of caring. It's just that's the way it's designed. And so after many years of doing really good work of kind of being the central fundraiser for agencies and allocating money out to high quality programs, it wasn't that wasn't working. It was that we wanted to do better. And if you look at the results from all sorts of data in our community, it just wasn't good enough, and those disparities were unacceptable. And so this was an approach to try to get better. And we really still encourage folks to join us in the process. It's not about competing against each other. It's not about taking credit. It's about declaring what the goal is and then together finding out the best way to get there. And for us, we have some really clear goals around kindergarten readiness and middle school success and healthy outcomes and financial stability for working families. And so if you're interested in that and involved in that, then we want to partner together and not compete. And so that was the reason why I think, the work that I was involved in was communicating that to the general public and to our donors. And, it was quite a process because United Way has been around for so long. And, the strength of the brand and the trust that we have in the community almost had to work against that a bit because we had to break through the noise of what most people thought United Way did and make sure that we were being transparent and they understood what it is that we actually do now. And so I think, it was a process that we were able to do with some really strong supporters in our corner. And now, the collaboratives have anywhere from 5 to 7 years of experience behind them to kind of speak for themselves. And I think the process is working. We have a really long way to go, but the work speaks for itself. We're proud of it and just continuing to try to grow and expand.
Great. And since we are live, we did have, a couple of questions come through. One I think is pertinent here. So the question is United Way of Greater Lorain County an independent organization? And I think, now would be a good time to comment on that, given that, United Way of Greater Lorain County did change kind of this model a little bit and had,
Yeah.
Some ability to do that.
Yeah, that is a great question and a great point. So we are independent. The way United Way Network is set up is that there is United Way Worldwide is set up in Alexandria, Virginia, the Washington, D.C. area. And essentially, we act on a franchise model from there. So all United Ways are local and independent, meaning we have our own board of directors, our own CEO, our own staff. We are set up that way so that we can best respond to the actual needs in our own local communities. And the money that we raise locally stays local. We do pay a small, tiny fraction of what we raise to United Way Worldwide as dues. And what that gives us access to is the brand, but also tons of resources from professional development and conferences and marketing and databases that actually ends up saving us money. So that the dues comes back to us as a cost savings from what we get back from them. And then everything else stays here locally to fund the programming that we do for Lorain County. Our board of directors is local, all local people. They're the ones who set our strategic goals and our priorities. We have volunteer advisory councils that are holding us accountable to our goals and are also helping us with scanning of the landscape and what's happening in our local community. We're always looking at that local 211 data to inform and make our decisions. So it's a great question and an important one for folks to understand. We are very much local and independent.
Great. So obviously United Way has had a really great partnership with individual community members as well as corporate partners in our community. With the change to that collaborative model, have you noticed any differences in how the community as well as those individuals and corporations have really played as this has changed?
Yeah, going all the way back to what we used to do and what we do now and why we made the change. And for really 100 years, United Way existed as that fundraiser. And the reason for that is we were actually created as actually the war chest, which then became the community chest. Anybody who's ever played Monopoly, that community chest was designed to be a central fundraiser for businesses to be able to donate money to that would help their local community. And then volunteers would decide how to allocate it out to the agencies that had been vetted from that group. And that was an amazing invention. And then because it was so closely tied to the business community, payroll deduction was largely how people were able to make their donations. And fast forward 100 years and just 10 years or so ago, that became a bit of an outdated model. People could look up their favorite charity on, GuideStar, Charity Navigator, or many other resources. They could make the donation on their phone, via the internet. And so that need, was becoming less and less. And we used to hear some feedback back then that would say, hey, well, if I want to donate to my favorite charity, why would I donate it to United Way? I could just go directly to my favorite charity and make that donation. And they weren't wrong. And so what we ultimately started having conversations internally about was what expertise, what capacity, what core competencies does United Way have that brings value to the community? And it was probably different than how we were operating. And so that's why we changed. And I say all of that to say now donors and corporate partners, they're not just donating to United Way as a pass-through to their favorite agency. They're donating to United Way to support these core causes that they believe in. And they're building the capacity and sustaining the backbone support of these collaboratives. And these are happening in a new way that would not happen without United Way doing this work. And so regardless of what the focus area is, if a person's really committed to kindergarten readiness or really committed to health, a specific geographic area, the volunteer projects that we do, the advocacy work, whatever it is, there is a cause that is meaningful to people or corporations, and they're able to get behind it in a more direct way. And then we built out the hands-on opportunities as well through volunteering and advocacy to really drive that even more.
Great. Okay. So one other question from the chat, and this is kind of timely as well, given that it's tax time, a little late this year, but we're getting there. So I think United Way, certainly helps individuals in terms of their finances when it comes to doing taxes and things like that. The question is specifically around what other ways, what things in addition to that can be done to help people with their financial literacy. So basically understanding their finances, how to organize things, and get themselves set up for success.
Another great question. The way that we look at the work that we do is very systematic and about systems change. And so if you think of a person who's living in poverty who might need help with their financial literacy, what parts of the system helped lead them to that point in life? And so that's where a huge focus of us and why a huge focus of our work is education. Let's kind of start kids off at kindergarten readiness, being on the right track, and then let's boost them up in that middle school years when they might be falling behind so they can graduate high school on time. Let's add in some actual programming around this topic at that point as well. And then when you get more specific to our financial stability work, same thing. It's not just about providing one single program around financial literacy. It's kind of surrounding that person and being very holistic in everything that we do. So for example, with some of our work around helping working single moms, we've done special classes and cohorts and trainings around many different topics, but one of which would be financial literacy. That's kind of a skilled volunteer opportunity for some of our volunteers to come in and be able to provide that type of coaching. And then, as you mentioned, our tax program as well. It's one of the kind of signature programs of United Way, the Lorraine County Free Tax Prep Coalition, with many great partners. And so people are able to call 211, make an appointment just as if they were going to a paid tax preparer, and then come in and have an IRS certified volunteer prepare and file their taxes for them for free. Generally speaking, people who made about $60,000 or less qualify for that service. Tremendous success rate in terms of small amount of rejections, just a tremendous program. And we're still doing that now, even in the midst of COVID, in a new mass drop-off way, but it's really going well. So kind of a long-winded answer to say that it's not just about providing one single program. It's about being very holistic and looking at it from a systems approach to make sure people get everything that they need to make smart decisions.
Great. So I would encourage anyone who is, participating on YouTube to certainly send in any questions. Um, Ryan, you've been involved in this work for a long time and have really been ingrained in the community to do this. I wonder if you can offer what you see are really the top priorities for United Way in the future.
Yeah, it's, I started in this specific job, 6 months ago or so. And what my list would have been then to what it is now is probably a lot different.
Sure.
Experiences have been different and the world is different right now. I think on a personal level, I really just wanted to be accessible. The events like this, we originally had a kind of a barnstorming tour planned where we were going to go around Lorain County and have community chats. And we missed the opportunity to do most of those. But just to be accessible, it's interesting to me. I'm still maybe learning a bit. I'm definitely learning a lot. But one particular thing is, I'm getting more requests to join boards or to speak or, whatever it may be. And I'm still the exact same person I was 6 months and 1 day ago when I had a different title. But with a different title, comes more of that. But I want the public to
We'll attest to that. Okay.
Right. And I just want the public to know that I still am that same person. So I'm accessible. Call me, email me. I always want to talk to be, how can we figure these things out together? So that was one, particular goal of mine. Another was to just continue the process of, expanding our reach and making sure that we have more partners involved and more people are at the table, more voices are heard. I think largely we do a really good job of that as United Way, but you can always do better. And so that was important for me. And then a third thing, and I think we're doing it. A third thing was alignment. I really just wanted to make sure, especially I think from a funder's perspective, that we understood the work of each other. Not that the way United Way does it has to be a way that another funder does it, but that we're just aligned and we understand, and where there are opportunities to partner, that we take advantage of those opportunities. And that's where I was really proud of the COVID-19 fund that came together. And so I think there's opportunities for us to continue doing things just like that for the benefit of the community. I think where we are right now in terms of anti-racism and social justice, I think that's there's an important role there for United Way as well. The stated mission of United Way isn't to fight racism, but when you look at all of the things we've been talking about today, that systematic racism absolutely plays a part in the disparities that we see in our community. And so what is the role of United Way in bringing that to light and fighting against it? I think is absolutely a priority of ours too.
Great. No, it's good to hear, kind of your views and engagement on that. Again, just to mention, that COVID-19 response fund, being a physician and seeing where, the numbers are headed for, COVID-19, we are kind of on an uptick again. So, we are as a community in this for the long haul. And certainly, funds like that, as well as UCAN, are going to be very important to continue to support, through this. Speaking of that support, a shameless plug for on July 16th, we're going to be holding our virtual Spellibrate. So Spellabrate's been a fundraiser created by one Ryan Aroney. So this is going to be in a virtual platform, but essentially it's a spelling bee, that is done to kind of engage, with donors and our communities in a very fun way. And that will be taking place right here on this YouTube channel, with all of the benefits going to UCAN. So Ryan, could you say a little bit about Spellabrate what your stroke of genius was in coming up with this, and make a prediction as to who's going to win, which is definitely not me. So
Yeah, we know how that went last
yeah,
year.
I got the medical word right. Every other one, not even
Right.
close.
Yeah, so Spellibrate is just a bit of a wacky idea that uh, came out of my mind with a lot of help. Don't get me wrong, but it's a spelling bee fundraiser for us, and it's a spelling bee for adults, as we say, and it's teams of four that compete against each other. We intentionally made it a lot of fun. Typically, when we're able to do it in person, the spectators, the crowd also get to engage and actually have a chance to win as well. Obviously, this year is a bit different, and so we're doing this on the YouTube channel. And what we did to condense it a bit was we just brought back the champions from our past 4 years. It's the 5th year of Celebrate. And we had 3 champions because the Kendall at Oberlin team has won twice. The Lorraine Public Library is a winner, and the Oberlin Rotary Club is another winner. So the 3 of those teams, the champions, are coming back for a Battle of the Champions, and essentially just playing for bragging rights at this point. And we do have a traveling trophy that gets displayed at the business or the home of the winner. And so last year's champion, Kendall at Oberlin, still has it on their front desk. It greets you as you walk in, which is really amazing. So it's something that's grown over time, raises around $15,000 every year to support our work, which is key, but also just has been a way to engage our followers and our donors, and in something that's really unique and fun, and to have people be interested in coming back this year in a unique way, we really appreciate. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope everybody can tune in.
Yeah, by just having the champions, we are going to be losing a little bit of that embarrassment factor, for those like myself who really can't spell. So, but I think it's still going to be quite interesting and exciting to see how they do.
They're really good spellers. It's going to be tough competition, no doubt about it. And they take it seriously. So I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Absolutely. So Ryan, I don't see anything else on the chat in terms of any other questions. So I wonder if you could just kind of reiterate how people can reach United Way to continue their impact, and kind of bring the community together, both in this time of our pandemic, as well as our issues with addressing racism and things like that. But how can people engage with us going forward?
Yeah, we're always open for folks to reach out. So you can call us 277-6530. We still largely are working remotely right now, but the our phones work. They redirect to us, so you can get a hold of us by phone. Our email addresses are listed on our website. I encourage anybody with any specific questions, please feel free to call or email me, or any person listed on the department that you're thinking of. Specifically, the volunteer opportunities, that's always something that we can use help with. Our volunteer group, led by you, Dr. Babich, is just expands the capacity of our work, and we have just 11 staff people, and so to have community volunteers who take the lead, in your case on the campaign, if people want to lead the collect, sort, deliver, if people want to get involved with advocacy, that all just expands our work, and it saves money. We don't have to invest in staff time. So that's really the model and how we're able to do so many things. The other thing is 211. It's so important for people to be aware of 211 first call for help, to know that it's there for resources. And oftentimes, in my experiences, when people need help, they've never needed help before, and so they don't even know where to go. And just being able to send people to 211, if it's a call and they have an operator there who's trained and can walk them through it, can help them navigate this new environment. But they can also go to the website and search the database themselves and find hours and addresses and everything they might need. And we also have a Spanish-speaking 211 hotline in partnership with El Centro. And so during normal business hours, they can actually be directed to a person who speaks Spanish and walk them through as well. So, I often leave people with that and say, hey, if there's anything you can do, the easiest thing is to just share 211 as a resource. Let people know that that's where they can go to get connected, whether that's United Way or other. And then my more direct ask to people is to give, advocate, and volunteer. And so if one of those or all of those is good for you, you can do that on our website at uwloraincounty.org. Any gift that is significant to you is enough to go a long way and make a difference in real local people's lives. And then again, the advocacy and the volunteer work really powers us and expands what we're able to do.
Great. Well, Ryan, thank you for all the work that you're doing to help to kind of lead our community through these challenging times, and hopefully, in the future, less challenging times. But the work that you do and United Way does is just as impactful then as it is now. So again, thank you and the United Way staff for all the work that you guys are doing, and thank you for those who joined us. It's been a fun experience to interview Ryan. Learn a bit about him as well as the mission of United Way. So thank you very much.
Thank you.